Everyone, it's Lindsay and I'm here with a page for Sonshine Stamp Co. I'm using the Just My Type and then this stamp set, Sweet Treats. I haven't used this one yet and it has all these great little pieces that you can build with, and this was designed by Ashley from the team, so I'm excited to dive in and use this one. I'm working in Psalm 119-103. And I'm going to be using a technique to stamp these that I did in one of my similar videos recently, the poppy one. I'll link it in the top right hand corner, but I'll be using that same technique. So I'm stamping with my Inktense pencils. You can see I put them on screen there. I have the full set of 72. And what I'm doing is I'm taking this cone and I'm actually putting the stamp backwards on my block. So it's actually the flat side up, the wrong side up. And I'm just going to rub my eraser over that just to kind of dirty it up. And then I'm going to color that with my Inktense pencil. So I have kind of a light brown colored pencil. And I'm going to dip this into my water cup until that pigment starts to activate and scribble that onto the back side of the stamp. And these are like a watercolor pencil, except that they are actually India ink, so they are permanent once they are dry. And this doesn't mess them up as long as you dry it off before you store them. It is totally fine. And so I'm just going to go keep scribbling this until I get a good amount of coverage on this stamp, and just reactivating it, getting it wet as I need to keep that pigment moving. And then I'll just stamp this down, and then I let this sit on the page just for a couple seconds to let it kind of seep in so it doesn't just all pool up as soon as I pull that stamp up. And then I can just clean that off with a baby wipe. No problem, stamp is perfectly fine. Let it dry for just a second and then you can stick it back down and it is good to go. I'm just going to take a paintbrush, get it wet, and just kind of move that around while it's still wet. I can kind of move the color around, even out any areas that are a little messy. If it was dry, I couldn't do that. That pigment won't move around once it's dry. Hit that with my heat tool good because I'm going to go back over it with the outline stamps. This is a great way to fill in the stamps with a really fun watercolor looking coloring, but really simple. So I've flipped it over to the regular side and I'm going to stamp it using some VersaFine black ink over the top. So this technique works with stamps that are cut close to the image. So now this piece here is right side up. So there's actually a solid piece that's the ice cream. So I don't have to do the backside technique for this one. And I've just taken a teal colored pencil and just doing that same thing, activating it with water and then scribbling it onto the stamp. And then I can go in with the outlines. So this piece has some outlines, some pieces that you can stack multiple on top of each other. You could stamp just the outlines or just the solids. There's a lot of different ways that you could use it. The sugar cone here, I've gone ahead, same thing, flipped it upside down. So this is the back side of the stamp that I'm stamping. Let that sit for a couple seconds and then pull it up. And you can see it's not perfect, but I can go right in with a wet brush and just kind of move that out, move it around and smooth it out. I can flip that over and then stamp with the lines. Really fun. It's a little messy since it's a little bit bigger on the back side. You get that color kind of on the outside. I think it would be fun to offset this. So shift the lines to like to the right or to the left and just kind of have that fun graphic look would be really neat. Go ahead and stamp that solid image once again, and then I can just pick up color from the tip of my from the tip of the pencil and fill in any areas that need to be filled in if they were missed. Make sure that's good and dry before I go over it. If it's wet when I go over it with the outline, that ink will move and bleed and feather. And then this stamp set includes all kinds of fun accessories. You have hearts and sprinkles and drizzles and a little cherry. So adorable. So I'm pulling out some of these that I'm going to use to finish up these little images at the bottom. And so I have those sprinkles. I'm going to heat emboss them. I have this really chunky embossing powder. I think it's Stampendous. If I can find it, I'll link below. It doesn't have any packaging on it, but I'm going to prep my page with my anti-static powder tool, and then I'm going to ink this sprinkles up with Versamark. It's a clear sticky ink. So you can't really see it, but then I'm going to sprinkle this chunky embossing powder over the top and then tap off the excess, and so then that embossing powder will stick to anywhere where that Versamark ink is. And then I'll go ahead and get my heat tool good and hot and then hit that with the heat tool until that melts. And it takes a little bit longer because it's a chunkier embossing powder, but it really gives you this awesome dimension. There's so much texture to these sprinkles, and they kind of have a metallic finish. It's really neat. Took a scrap piece of cardstock and just stamping out the heart and the cherry, and then I'm going to color these in just by dipping my Inktense pencil in the water and then just coloring it in, so you get this watercolor effect without having to use a brush, and it's just like coloring with a crayon. I fussy cut those out, and then I will attach them using my Zig to a glue pen. It's just a ballpoint pen with glue in it, so it's great for gluing really small pieces like this. And I didn't catch it on camera, but I did end up covering these with glossy accents, and so they have this really pretty, shiny, raised dimension to them on the finished page. Let's just get those stuck down on there, and then I'm going to go in with my Uniball White Signo gel pen, just add some highlighting details to those images. Just a little extra something. Now I'm taking the Just My Type set. This is my absolute favorite alpha. I love this set. I'm going to space out where I'm going to do my stamping, and then I was able to go in and hand letter the word sweet and the word words. And then I'm just going to use my Tombow Feud. It's a calligraphy pen to go over these, and you can see I went over in pencil first, my hand lettering, and then I'm just going to go over it with my calligraphy pen and darkening or thickening up the downstrokes, and that's how you get that faux calligraphy look. And I wanted that mixture of the type and the hand letters. So I, again, am working in Psalm 119, verse 103. It says, "How sweet are your words to my taste, sweeter than honey to my mouth." I know it's a pretty common verse to use in Bible journaling, and it went perfect with the stamp set, so I thought it'd be fun to pull it out and show that stamp set, because I hadn't used it yet. I've had it for a little bit and hadn't used it yet. So now that my hand lettering's done, I can go in and stamp the typed lettering. I'm just stamping one letter at a time using my VersaFine ink. So of course it needs some ink splatters because it's one of Lindsey's pages, right? So I'm going to dip these pencils into the water and scribble them out onto some stamp packaging. I've just flipped my stamps over and just using that plastic and creating a little puddle of paint. I believe I'm using fuchsia, teal, and willow are the colors that I used for today. And then cherry, I think it's hot cherry or something like that for the red. I'll list them down below if I can remember which ones I used. So I'm just going to create these little puddles of ink. You can just keep dipping and scribbling until you get it as concentrated as you want. You could pick this up and then paint with it like watercolor if you wanted to. And then I'm going to take a fan brush, which gives you really fine little splatters of paint. So I'm going to dip into each one of these colors, and it's just this really faint splattering in the background, and drawing in between the colors, being sure not to reactivate that heat embossing, so you don't want to stay over the top of it too long. And just moving through using the same colors that I used in those ice cream cones. So super simple page today, didn't take very long to do. I love using that technique of the reverse stamping and using the Inktense since I don't have a lot of different ink colors. So I hope you were inspired today. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think of the page. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Head on over to the Sonshine Stamp Co. blog to check out the blog posts over there and the shop to pick up these stamps. And subscribe to my channel if you're not already subscribed. And until next time, thank you so much. Bye-bye.